Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 9:30. This is a program for mostly for club secretaries, but anybody else who'd like some information. I am Noni Larson. If you don't know me, in the past I have been district conference chair a number of times, have had various different positions in the district leadership, but this year Rich has asked me to be the district secretary. So I'm here in any way possible that I can to help those of you guys who are secretaries, or even if you have other questions within your club, maybe how administration or whatever, please feel free to call me and use me as a resource. And if I don't know the answer, I will find you the answer, because I promise I definitely do not know all the answers, but I can try my best to help. So, all right, Maria, if you would put on the first slide. All right, your key role as a secretary in your club is to make sure you have all the records accessible, understand the Rotary principles and procedures, and understand the Constitution and the bylaws. One of the biggest things for you to do, perhaps right now, if you're going to be a club secretary, is to make sure you get a copy of your club's Constitution and bylaws. Please, please read them. Each club is totally different. You have to remember, yes, we're all Rotarians. Yes, we have a lot of common cores, but each club is a little bit different and is autonomous in how they run it and how they handle things. Some club secretaries do some things in some clubs. Some, they do something different. The treasurer might handle some of that. Membership might handle that. You need to be understanding of what your club is set up to run. And if there's something that's not functioning, maybe when you read the Constitution and the bylaws, you might want to bring that up to your board. Make sure you know where all your records are, be they on DAC-DB or whatever your club has set up for that. And make sure you understand all the new and current Rotary bylaws and guidelines as well for clubs. That can be really helpful. You're kind of that cheerleader for your club to say, hey, this is kind of what's going on with RI. This is what we're doing in our club. Let's make sure we're all meshed up and it's all going in the right direction. Next, please. Mm-hmm. Next slide. Right.
Hold on.
Okay. All right. You're the records custodian. You should have the Rotary Manual of Procedure. You should be very familiar with that for your club. You should be the resource for that. Like we discussed earlier, you should have a pretty good handle on your club's bylaws and policies. It's not a bad idea every couple of years to perhaps review that with your whole board, but make sure you understand what's in there so that if something's not being done as set up by your bylaws and policies, you can just say, hey guys, you know, it says we're supposed to be doing this and we're doing something totally different. It's good to be that person, and may not make you the best, happiest person all the time. Your club loves you, but at least you're trying to keep them on the right track. Historical copies of all meeting minutes. Most of you guys post your stuff on DAC-DB. I know we do, so that your club has access to all your past meeting minutes. And it's really good for you to be aware of what's happened in your club in the past. It's a good resource for you as well as secretary going forward, as you're talking to your club president, how you want those minutes to be drafted. And I know a question yesterday somebody had was, is there like a good form for that type of thing for minutes going forward? I went along with this presentation. I'm going to have this put up. Maria and I already discussed this yesterday, and I will put up a copy of just a little thing that you can do for helping you with the minutes. Let's see, rosters of all club members. Okay, this is really, really important for you as a secretary. Verify that all information is up to date. I know in our club, once a month, our secretary does send out to everybody, just checking in. Have you gone to any other meetings? Do I need to verify this? Just to make sure we're all on the same page. You'd be surprised how many people, oh, I forgot to tell you, I moved. Granted, I only moved down the street, but you won't get your copy of your Rotarian after a couple months if your mail's not being forwarded. So You want to verify that that's all up to date, or you had something else change, who knows. You want to make sure that you have a copy of the district newsletter that you can share with your club members. And also your club bulletins or weekly emails. Some clubs still do have hard copies on tables. Others do weekly updates prior to their meetings so that club members know what's going on. Especially these days, I'm pretty sure everybody's getting weekly emails from their club, at least we hope they are, so that they're up to date on what's going on in your club. It really just depends on what your club does. I know in our club, we get a weekly email. I know other clubs it works really well to still have it on the table, but it just really depends on what you want to do. All right, next slide. And yes, somebody said I would like a copy of this presentation. Not a problem. It will be on the website. And if you're a secretary, you're going to probably get a copy from me here shortly. Before July 1st, begin studying the manual, the bylaws, and make sure you're aware of any changes that have been made, just kind of like what we talked about. And if your club is maybe not doing something, how their bylaws are set up, maybe when you guys have your meeting for new officers and planning meeting for the year, you can kind of bring some of those things up to that meeting. Confer with the president-elect, treasurer, and outgoing secretary. Find out what best practices perhaps the outgoing secretary found very, very useful. They're going to be a super, super important role in what you're going to do because they kind of know what's worked this last year. Granted, you might have a different president, maybe you'll have the same president, who knows, but they're going to have a really good resource for you. Also, too, you want to have a great relationship with that treasurer of yours because you two are going to be working hand in hand to make sure everything for Rotary International, the district, and everything is up to date so that you guys are paying accurate amounts to RI, to the district, and everybody is being taken care of. Let's see. Attend district training assembly and conference. Well, here you are at training assembly. You're here listening to me. So you've already got that one checked in the block. Pay attention to what's going on. Different things coming up like 3 keys to success, district conference, try and attend those. Be that cheerleader for your club so you know what's going on. Also, like, try and send them reminders. Hey, district training assembly is coming up. You might want to be on there. Or conference is coming up. Be that person. Be the one who's, be the cheerleader for the district. Attend informal meetings of incoming officers. If you guys have like a planning meeting or something for the upcoming year, make sure you're a part of that because you're a very important part of the board. Make sure you attend current board meetings. It's really hard to take minutes if you don't attend a current board meeting. Many of you guys I know that are secretaries now are taking minutes online as you're doing Zoom meetings, as is we have. But it may be easier for you just to take notes and retype those minutes up later. I do know some secretaries just have their laptop right there and they're just they have the standard form and they just put the minutes right into it and send it out right afterwards. And so that way, before it actually gets uploaded to DACDB, you can have a copy that your board members have taken a look at and they say, hey, Noni, I don't really think this is what it was. I think this was something else. So sometimes it's always good, especially while everything is fresh in everybody's mind. If you can get those minutes sent out sooner than later, it's often a good thing. Sometimes people just wait until their next board meeting to send it out. But I have found, you can do whatever you want, but I have found it is much better for memory and recourse and stuff like that to make the most accurate minutes if it's done sooner than later. Next one, please, Marie. Okay, primary task during the year, keep minutes of all the board meetings. That you are the historical record for your club. You'd be surprised how many times we've gone back to our minutes. It's like, oh yeah, we said we were going to do that, or aren't you supposed to have done that, or we were going to do this. And so to have those really accurate minutes is super important for your club to just kind of make sure you're kind of keeping things up to date. You're doing what you said you were going to do, that kind of thing. Maintain club attendance. Very, very important, just like keeping your information online up to date. Maintain club contribution records. This is something you might do, or in a number of cases, it might be your club's treasurer that does that. But make sure you're really in conjunction with your treasurer and you know who's doing what. That's super important. And keep club membership records. Just like we discussed before, keep them up to date. As long as you're keeping that up to date online, you're really doing a good job. And there's not too many other things you need to do in regards to that. Next slide. Rotary International invoice. This replaced the semi-annual report. January 1st and July 1st. Rotary issues an invoice based on the records in rotary.org. And let me tell you, what's in there is what's going to be there. So if you've lost a number of members and you haven't updated that, guess what? You're going to pay for that. And there's no changing about it. Member additions and deletions must be made within 30 days before January 1st and July 1st invoice comes out. So make sure you're keeping that up to date. Let's see. All proration and other calculations are done by RI on the 1st and on the 7th. These are non-negotiable. They're not negotiable at all. It's just the way that it is. The club treasurer can issue a check or pay online by credit card, and district dues are based on RI's invoice head count. So whatever Rotary International has, that's what the district is going to use. So if you still, once again, have those 3 people that left and you didn't take care of that, well, you're going to still pay for them with the district too, the district as well. Isn't that right, Patty? Oh, she's
yes, yes.
So, okay, so let's go on to the next one. So like we talked about, Kelly brought up a point. Every club is different. Our minutes get approved by our board before they become official. That is correct. But they're not always looked over by a president first. It just depends on what your club's bylaws state. So they aren't official until they're voted on. But like I was saying earlier, if you have minutes and you do them right away, they're probably going to be more accurate versus just sitting in a notebook for 30 days right before your next board meeting. Rotary International dues per member for 2021 will be $34 per half year, and the Rotarian magazine is $6 for a half year. So that's $40 half a year, $80 a year for RI. In July, an additional $1.50 is added per member for the Council on Legislation, as well as the insurance fee for the year, typically about $6 a member. The insurance fee is kind of RI's like blanket protection for all of us. If we do a fundraiser and we fill out that form, or if as a club, just for meeting location, that kinds of things to cover us, that's what our insurance is for. There is a really good spot on the Rotary.org website that actually explains that actually really well. And if somebody's more interested in that, I'll be happy to send that to them where to look for that. RI will prorate dues for new members on the following semi-annual invoice. So if you have somebody there only for 3 months, as long as you're keeping your information up to date on Rotary.org, then that's they're gonna get rated just for that amount. District dues are $22 per half year and are also due on payable in July and January. An invoice is sent from the district to the club's mailing address. Patty typically sends that out via email, and if you don't respond, then she'll send you a hard copy, right, Patty?
Yes, ma'am, I will. To your mailing address.
Right. So that's the other thing. Make sure if for some reason your club's mailing address is not up to date, make sure that you do that. That's an important part of your job. Okay, next slide. Weekly club responsibilities mail. Discuss with your treasurer who is to collect the mail from the PO box. Are you or the treasurer to log or post checks and make up bank deposits? If the treasurer is collecting the mail, make sure all the other mail comes to you. Different clubs have this set up different ways. In some clubs, it is the secretary. In some clubs, it is the treasurer. So it really is important for you to have that good working relationship with your treasurer to say, okay, am I doing this you're doing this, and really have it defined so you know who's doing what and it doesn't get confusing.
Now, one thing that we learned is you should know who owns that mailbox, because it can't be owned by a non-individual. And if you lose that key, that person has to go get the key.
Yeah. So if that's the case, it's always good in our club. I know we have a couple of different keys given to a couple different people. I know in the past we've had people who've gotten very ill, who've gotten very sick, who were supposed to be doing that, was not able to. So if you are in that situation, we now have our president, our treasurer, and our secretary. They all have a copy of the key, just so that you have a backup for that, because that's really important. You don't want that mailbox sitting there for 2-3 months and it not being looked at. That could be really bad. Communicate to club leaders information requiring their attention. A lot of times they do get information in emails, especially these days, from the district, from Rotary International, but there could be things in that mailbox. Maybe you guys did a great fundraiser and you get a lot of nice thank you notes, or you know, for some reason the email's not working and Patty's trying to send you something and she's going to put it in the mail. So make sure that people are checking that out and you are making sure that that information goes to the right people. Prepare correspondence to club members, district leadership, and RI. Maybe you need to write some thank you notes for your club if they're doing good things and things like that. Or you have something that you need to share. Make sure you're good, you're up to date on that kind of stuff. Next. Help committee chairs order materials when needed, including badges, new member kits, paper products, and supplies necessary to maintain an effective club operations. Often good to verify this with the treasurer that funds are available for this. I cannot repeat that enough. Granted, maybe you guys have set up, you know, you have budgets and things like that, and the person is like, oh yeah, well, this is within my budget. But maybe you've lost a few club members or your fundraiser didn't raise as much. Make sure that the funds are there. Just because they're supposed to be there, they may not always be there. So make sure that the funds are available before you help somebody order something. Forward proposals for new members to the appropriate club committees for processing. This could be a job for a membership person, or it could be a job for you as a secretary. Things these days are a lot different than they were, say, 10, 15 years ago, where more and more things came by mail. More and more things now are coming through online via email and things like that. But just check and make sure that you're doing the right thing to help that membership chairman or that person in your club who's in charge of that. Because you are still in charge of entering into the data, new members and terminations, transfers, and classifications. And you should be doing that within 30 days of all that happening. So if you just do it on a monthly basis, when you're doing some of your other secretarial duties, say like your monthly board meeting minutes, and you're loading them up and you send out and you're just checking attendance, just try and make a, you know, have a day where you just kind of do all those things. And it really does make it easier to remember that you're doing all the appropriate steps every month. Thanks, Marie. Ensure copies of club bulletins are available at each meeting or online and forwarded to the appropriate persons. So maybe you don't have a copy on the table, but maybe before your meeting, make sure that everybody has a copy of it so that when they walk in, they can have it on their phone or whatever. And it's also nice to send to people who aren't there. Perhaps they weren't able to come to the meeting, and you could send it to them and just say, hey, we missed you. Here's a copy of, you know, our bulletin this week. At least it shows that you're really there listening and paying attention, that they weren't there. So assist the president with weekly meeting agenda if requested. Some presidents, they don't really want any help. Some presidents would love to have your help. So make sure you have that good dialogue beforehand with your president to find out what he or she is looking for from you. Forward visiting Rotarians makeup cards to their home club, or just give it to them. A lot of times now, I know In our club, it's done via email, but whatever works for your club is good. Enter any makeups received from other clubs online or from projects. Like I said, one of the best things I think our club secretary really does do is she sends out that monthly note to everybody. You know, hey, did you forget? Did you do anything? Did you do any extra? So when I go ahead and do all this stuff in my records, I have an accurate assessment and I don't have to go back and fix things. It really does help a lot. Next. Okay, monthly duties. Work up an agenda for the board of directors meeting. This is often done by the president, but once again, it's that relationship between you and the president, what he's expecting of you, and maybe he's doing some of it himself, who knows, but make sure you have that dialogue going. Prepare the minutes from the prior board meeting, often best sent to the board prior to the meeting. This really is helpful if you can do it. Send it out to your board members so that they have a chance to look at it. So if there's something that maybe they were supposed to do, if you send it out at least 4 or 5 days before, if not a month before, they have a reminder of in those minutes, hey, I was supposed to take care of this. Let me get on with this and get this taken care of. That's a really good thing to do. Report Paul Harris Fellow sustaining payments from members and request Paul Harris Fellow recognition for members completing their Paul Harris Fellow commitment. This may be something that the treasurer is doing, but this is something that you could possibly help them with. It just really depends on how your club is set up for this. Inform district of your club activities to be shared with other clubs, either on the district newsletter. PR chair might be involved with this. I know there's a lot of ways that Davey's doing some things that if club's doing something really great, willing to help get the word out there and get things shared. So it's always good to have a little bit of a pat on the back, or if people know what you're doing, maybe they want to participate in it too. Finish the job by reporting. District awards require reporting in DAC-DB no later than the 30th of June. Enter DAC-DB, the district and club database, and verify the correctness of your own data. Once again, this is so important. Just if you do it on a regular monthly basis, it's all going to be right there, and you're not going to have to reinvent the wheel at the end of the year. Okay. Other duties: prepare quarterly invoices for dues that all club members. This could be the treasurer's job. This could be your job. It's really just something that you need to have a good conversation about with the treasurer, who's responsible for that. And at the end of the fiscal year, identify all members with perfect attendance. I know Rotary is not as big on this as they used to, but it's still very, very important. People who really go to a lot of effort. I mean, I know some people in my club who've had perfect attendance ever since they've been in our club, and oh, that's like 30 years, and they're very, very proud of it. I know my dad, who's been in Rotary for a very long time, he's very, very proud of the fact that he has perfect attendance. So it's something that you really need to keep up with and honor those who really try hard to be a very important part of your club by attending all the time. Other duties. Change officer or meeting information with RI and the district during the year if it's needed. Once again, if you're doing this on a monthly basis, it's easy to keep up with. Just don't forget this is something else you need to do. I know our club, after we go off this little Zoom hiatus and we get back to normal, we're actually moving about a minute down the road. But we need to make sure that that is up to date, because if somebody wants to come visit our club, do a makeup there, or perhaps our, lovely district governor might get out of bed at, I don't know, at 5 o'clock in the morning, right, Marie, and show up at our meeting, then they would want to know where to go. And I don't think they'd be very happy if they showed up at the wrong place, if they got up early. Exactly. So that's really important. If you have an officer who's changed, a membership chair, a sergeant at arms, a president-elect, something's happened, make sure that the district and RI knows that so that they can be sending the appropriate information out to the right person. In December, report new officers on RI and district websites, just like we talked about. prepare an annual report, including actions by the board, net membership gain or loss for a year. This is kind of important. We all like to know how our clubs are doing. Are we gaining members? Are we losing members? And this is something that you need to keep your club aware of what's going on. Granted, they probably know in a smaller club as they're losing members or gaining members. And in a larger club, that's a little bit more difficult. So it's always good to know what's going on. Let's see, assist president with preparation for the assistant governor's visit within the first 2 months. And this year, the DG may attend other functions instead of a regular club meeting if desired. Now, that is not to say I know that Rich will not come to your meeting if you really, really want him to. But this year, I know he is planning on having all of his area assistant governors visit your meeting within the first 2 months. And then he's going to set up different visits with you. If you want him to come to a club fundraiser, you want him to come to a different club function, you guys are doing a service project, guarantee Rich and Murray will probably try and be there if that's what you want. But if you want them there at a regular meeting, I am sure they will be there as well. End of the year. Take inventory on all records for your club to ensure completeness and accuracy, and coordinate with the incoming secretary for incoming club secretary for a smooth transition. This is not to say that maybe you aren't the same person going forward. You might have been the same person as the year before, but still it's always a good time of the year to kind of inventory and take a look at what's happened. Even if you've been doing it for a long time, it's a good thing to review and see where your club's at and maybe what still needs to be done. I do know a lot of clubs have no idea what's in their bylaws, and I know I brought this up before. And you as club secretary, it really is one of the best things you can do to make sure you've reviewed those bylaws and your club is actually doing what's in your club's bylaws. Very important. Next. Summary of reporting. Okay, so these are things that we all discussed before, but this is a really nice little chart if you are the secretary and maybe you're new to being a secretary. This is a good one maybe just to kind of print out and stick there up on your office wall kind of thing to remind you of dates that are coming up, of things when you really need to have things done, and discuss things with your treasurer. Membership additions and terminations, submit to RI within 30 days of change before January 1st and July 1st. Invoices with RI, this is with the treasurer, due upon receipt, no changes. Once again, the same dates as before, January 1st and July 1st. Club information changes. This needs to go to RI and to the district governor. This should be ongoing. This is something, if things change, you should be doing this on a monthly basis. Official directory information, RI and to the district governor. This happens in March. So these are just some important dates, and it's just kind of a good reminder to you, especially if you get busy like I do in December and things like that, and things get hectic. It's good to have a reminder. Okay, this seemed to go kind of fast today compared to yesterday. I haven't had nearly as many questions. Does anybody have any questions or anything they kind of would like to discuss at this time? I'd be happy to talk about it, or I'm sure Patty would as well.
I do, Noni. Just
okay.
A reminder to the group to keep DAC-DB up to date, particularly with members' emails and contact information. I can't tell you, as treasurer, sometimes I've had to go in there because our QuickBooks doesn't have the correct information, DAC doesn't have it, and so I have to go to the member and get the information, and then I find out that, oh, well, I told the secretary, but it just wasn't done. So it's just more of a FYI.
That's what I was saying earlier. One of the best things I do think that our club secretary does do very well is she sends out once monthly that little email reminder. It talks about if you did any makeups in your club, have you had any changes, anything like that. And so that actually is really helpful. And if she's really good, that if she doesn't get a response back, you're going to get a phone call, which is a lot of work in a large club. but at least the email portion, if you're sending that out on a monthly basis, that reminds you to make sure that everything is up to date. That's just a really good little trick that we've used, and it's really been helpful to keep everything up to date.
Bo brings up a good point when, especially if you're using like an outside accountant or QuickBooks or something like that that's not interconnected. You've got to make sure that information is getting to that outside accountant or your treasurer, because QuickBook too has to be manually updated.
Yes. So you really need to have that really good working relationship with your treasurer. Know who's responsible for what.
I could tell you in our club where we had people that we started and there was no communication that went to the outside accountant. So we weren't billing them for months. But we were
And then you send them a big bill and they're not really happy.
Can I ask a question? I'm not completely sure how myrotary.org and DACDB, you're supposed to synchronize membership, but what else is the secretary supposed to do with the My Rotary website? Or is there any responsibility there?
Rosemary, I'm trying to figure out kind of what your question is.
So
there's two websites when you want to, learn about Rotary or get information. One is the DACDB and the other is, right. I think it's called My Rotary. I don't remember.
I can answer this, actually. We're going to learn it actually in the advanced session this afternoon in the third session. But essentially, there's an interconnect between My Rotary and DACDB. And if that's turned on, the secretary becomes much easier, that you don't have to go to My Rotary and put in club officers and make sure all the information is correct over there. If that's not turned on, then you have to put the information in both sites.
It's always better to make sure that that connection is there. This is what we did. We put information in DACDB when we first did this, and then we were making sure it was being populated up into rotary.org is a good way to go about it. But if it's not, it's something that, one of us, you can just call us and we can help you through it.
Hey, just so y'all are aware, Mark from DACDB is actually on this call.
Oh, there you
He
go.
can help you. Yeah, he can help you with questions.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. Yes. If Jim doesn't show it, I will demonstrate the RI compare during my session coming up in an hour or so.
Right. So is that the only relationship that they have with each other? Is there, so a club secretary has any other duties that would be on the My Rotary side as far as?
Not really, Rosemary. If it's linking up and you're doing what's appropriate all the time in DACDB and it's linking up, you should be fine.
So as a club secretary, you could see the RI invoice. You can change officers up on My Rotary. Like I said, if it's linking, then you won't have to do that. If it's not,
then you need
to make some manual connections. I've had some issues where I just couldn't get a member in. I go up to My Rotary, I put them there, I go ahead and make them sync, and then everything seems to work.
Does that answer your question?
She's shaking her head yes. So
does anybody else have any other questions? But anybody else? Okay, how about this? We'll do something a little more fun. Does anybody have a super exciting story of something they did as a secretary in the past? Nobody? Patty, I know you do.
No, not really.
Well, like I said, Rosemary, are you going to be your club secretary this year? No? Okay. How many of you guys online have been a club secretary before? Most of you? Okay. So most of you have been in the past. There's not, is there anybody on here who's new to this? Who this is gonna be their first time being, okay, so Mike, you're gonna be for the first time, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the screens.
I'm sorry?
Looking through the screens to see more hands.
I don't see too many other hands, but, okay.
I was secretary before the internet, so.
Oh. That makes it a little different. I actually was secretary before the internet and then after the internet.
Uh-huh.
Very different, very,
Oh
very.
my
different
goodness, yes.
But that doesn't mean you still don't have that job for your club, is to be the record keeper and stuff. In some ways now, though, it's a lot easier. There's just a few more steps that has to be taken. So I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if you took this presentation to say one of your first board meetings, if you're a new secretary, and said, you know, can I get the bylaws and the Constitution? And you're gonna, there's a big possibility you're just gonna get a what?
Blank face. Hopefully your club has this, Mike, already. Have you been onto your club's website? Do they have a link to your bylaws and to your Constitution and stuff on DAC-DB?
I'm pretty sure they do. I don't know if I've accessed it yet, though.
Okay.
But I said Kathy Minery is our secretary, and I sat down with her when I was nominated for it, and we kind of went over everything. We were supposed to start, meeting together now, but that's kind of.
You even as a member should have access to be able to click on your bylaws and your Constitution. So, maybe if you get a chance over the next week or so, if you have some time for your next board meeting, go in there and get yourself familiar with it. Make sure it's there, and make sure, and maybe that would be a really good thing to talk about with your outgoing secretary. Hey, are we doing these things? Because you would be surprised how often that's not necessarily the case sometimes. We have a process where we are in our bylaws that we have to review it every 3 years, and it is done by the secretary. But it's
I know that
different
that's
in
something
every club.
I know that that's something that they're working on now, is updating and refreshing everything. So I know that she and I think Dawn, they're both working on it. And so
That might be something that you really want to be involved with, because you're really going to need to know what those are going forward. That's going to be an important part of your job. So if they'll let you be a part of that, maybe you ask, hey, can I be a part of this group too?
okay.
Tony, what we do in our club, we have actually in our bylaws, it's called the April 30th deadline meeting. And what is achieved before April 30th is approval of the budget for the following year, and approval, endorsement, or whatever of all the governance documents, the bylaws, the Constitution, and the policy and procedures. So this is something that's done every single year in our club. We're a new club.
I was going to say, Kelly, you guys have an advantage. You're a new club. So that's good.
So this will be like the third year we're doing this. But again, we look at it every single year, and even during the year, to see if something needs to be tweaked or changed or revisited or whatever. So you don't go that long stretch of not even look. Now, if we feel like everything is fine this year, it's good to go, then we just accept it as such, and we keep it moving. But it is something that's required to look at every single year.
And we actually we streamlined our bylaws a couple of years ago, and then we have a different thing of our standard operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
Those get reviewed a lot more often.
Mm-hmm.
So we simplified our our bylaws, so that as things change in our club and activities that we do, it's more of updating our standard operating procedures.
Exactly.
Our bylaws, which makes it a little easier as well.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi, I took this class this morning. I'm in public relations for the Port Orange South Daytona Club, but basically just to learn the different roles, being I'm on the board, so I can understand what other folks are doing. If somebody needs help, as far as public relations, where can I step in and help? So this is why I took this. This was very informative, and thank you.
No, my pleasure. It's always good, like I said, you can see, like I said, every club is autonomous and does things a little bit differently.
Mhm.
So it's really good that you perhaps as public image, you could go in and see where maybe you could be helping out with some of these things and take some of the burden off of somebody.
Exactly.
You would know better than probably a club secretary. You're in that position because you kind of know how to do the public image stuff, whereas the other person might not. So it'd be really good if you could.
Right. Like I handle all the emails through Pmail, but I volunteered to do that just because I've been doing email marketing for a long time, over 5 years. So I feel comfortable with that. So I always volunteer, tell the club members, oh, I'll do it for you because I already have everything set up in Pmail. So yeah, this was very good. So thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I don't see any.
No, I don't see any either. I was just checking to see if there was any chat. Hey, Ed, just question for you, Ed Dalton. I want to do a shout out for Ed. He's been a super big help with us with Rotary Means Business, and he's kind of a computer guru. If you need any help with some of this kind of stuff, Ed is a great resource. If your club needs any of that kind of stuff, he really helped us out a lot when we were setting up a lot of stuff for Rotary Means Business, and he always fact checks us and makes sure we're doing well. So if you need some of that kind of help, he's a great resource.
Well,
and Ed's probably like, no, Noni, don't say that.
well, and our next presenter is Jimmy Z.
Yeah.
And he is our DAC-DB liaison for you. So he's gonna, in the next session, talk about the basics of DAC-DB. And then Mark from DAC-DB is gonna talk about some more advanced DAC-DB ways of getting around. So the next 2 sessions in a row are gonna be a lot of DAC-DB.
Somebody have a question?
It looks like Samsung. I don't know who that
Nope.
is.
Do you have a question? Nope, guess not. Okay. Well, Maria, it's up to you.
All right. So it is 10:12. What we could do, it looks like we've had 41 people in this session. So we could go ahead and pull our random number generator for the winning $25 gift certificate. And the way that'll work is when this is all over, I will pull the attendance sheets, and the attendance sheets will then be utilized with this number. Everyone will be given a number, and then this number will be the winning number of a $25 gift certificate to a restaurant in your local area. We'll notify you you've won, and then you tell us the restaurant you'd like that gift certificate from, and then we'll obtain that and get that to you. So without further ado, the winning number will be number 8 in this session.
Oh, I see that you've updated it since yesterday and you don't have to like get rid of stuff now.
But I didn't do anything.
Well, like yesterday you had to find the buses or the cars or the fire hydrant or whatever.
Lights, yeah, the crosswalks, but I don't know what happened. I didn't have to do it now.
Oh.
Apparently, trust me again. So, all right. So at this point, if you wanted to take a break, you could do that. You could sit and chat. Like I said, Jim Z is going to be our next presenter, but he will not be. He's over in a different track, and he'll be back over here for 10:30. So if you want to go get yourself a snack, you want to use the restroom, stretch your legs, or just sit here and chat, the thing is staying open. Maybe Coop can give us some words of wisdom.
Oh, no. Get up early and eat a full breakfast. Get a good night's sleep before club assembly. How about